Welcome to our presentation. This is Jason Aldridge. I'm recording for LaWanda Dixon and Carolyn Caldwell, and our topic is Essentialism.
Hello, my name is Jason Aldridge, and today I'll be sharing with you the strengths and weaknesses and the advantages and disadvantages of Essentialism. I will also talk about a couple of key people associated with the Essentialist theory of teaching. Those practicing Essentialism in the classroom do so because of the strengths and advantages it provides. First of all, this theory emphasizes the mastery of essential skills, facts, and concepts that form the basis of the subject matter, hence why it is called Essentialism. This helps teachers to develop a plan for their teaching, and it helps students to develop intellectual goals for specific subjects. Essentialists typically focus on core subjects such as math, science, and reading and writing English, and are strong in these subject areas. This also makes the Essentialist theory strong in meeting curriculum demands made for high-stakes testing, which focuses on those core areas. Teachers and students are both held accountable for their performance and their class's performance in high-stakes testing, and Essentialism provides teachers with a perceived advantage in time management for preparing for these mandatory tests. Finally, Essentialism provides a strength in classroom structure and management. Many teachers practice Essentialism because of the advantages of assessing students' progress. An Essentialist will assess students traditionally with homework, classwork, quizzes, and tests. Since this is a very traditional way of assessment, students are familiar with this mode of assessment, and that helps them understand how they are being assessed. With the strengths and advantages, there will also be weaknesses and disadvantages. As we discussed earlier, time is a factor in expectations that teachers meet all the standards of a subject. Essentialist methods help with that, but it's at the expense of teacher-centered classrooms that are typically dominated by lectures and textbooks. The teacher talks more than the student, which means this puts these classrooms at a disadvantage when it comes to cooperative work and discovery-based learning. As a result, students are more passive learners, and one may view the class as having a low level of engagement. Even with the influx of technology at our fingertips, most Essentialist teachers have yet to embrace technology as a true teaching tool in the classroom. And now I would like to focus and mention on two key individuals. William Bagley was a chief advocate for the Essentialist movement in the early 20th century. He was worried that the progressive way of teaching was moving our schools in the wrong direction. By giving students less structured classrooms, the learning was moving too far from the basics, and skills in math, science, writing, and reading were suffering because of it. He felt that the adults should decide what to teach the children, and the students should embrace American values in the classroom such as respect, perseverance, and consideration to others. That's just to name a few. Another supporter of Essentialist practice is E.D. Hirsch. He was once a professor at the University of Virginia and spoke out for Essentialism in the late 1970s and in the 80s. He favors whole class discussion and compares drilling in the classroom the same as drills for a sports team. Sports teams perfect their talents with repetition. He says it works just the same in the classroom.
This portion of our presentation will focus on Essentialism, its definition, theoretical foundation, and history. According to Merriam-Webster, the definition of Essentialism is an educational theory that ideas and skills basic to a culture should be taught to all alike by time-tested methods. Some of its main tenets are focusing on the essentials or basics of the educational process, and it is originated by a man named William C. Bagley in 1938. Now we can discuss some of the overarching ideas of Essentialism. Essentialism, according to Sean Pate, aims to promote the intellectual growth of the individual, to educate the competent person for the benefit of humanity. It is important for students to receive the knowledge provided to them by their teachers. They are not to take an active role in their own learning. The teacher's role is to provide the aforementioned knowledge. The curriculum focuses on specific subject content areas such as English, mathematics, science, foreign languages, and history. The next important segment of essentialism is knowing your role. In an essentialist classroom, it is the teacher's role to be the authoritative figure. It is the teacher or administrator's responsibility to determine which content is most important for students to learn. The teacher is also to serve as an intellectual and moral role model for the students, according to the Southern Illinois University Education Department. In addition, the teacher is expected to impart his or her morals or values into the minds of their students. Conversely, the student's role is to receive the knowledge. This is not a student-centered classroom by any stretch of the imagination. The student is to possess basic knowledge and skills, become disciplined, and be able to apply classroom lessons to real-life situations once they have left that instructor's classroom. We can now take the time to discuss a little bit about the founder of Essentialism, William C. Bagley. William C. Bagley was born in March 1874 in Detroit, Michigan. He graduates from the Michigan Agricultural College in 1895 and begins to teach in a one-room schoolhouse. After that, he attends graduate school at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and then works on his PhD in psychology at Cornell University. At this point, he decides that he's going to dedicate his life to teaching and the subjects involved with public schooling. Afterwards, he teaches for 4 years at Montana State Normal School and then Oswego State Normal School. In 1908, according to the Kappa Delta Pi site, he accepts a position as a professor of education at the University of Illinois. It is here that he establishes their School of Education and becomes their first dean of the School of Education. He eventually leaves the University of Illinois to accept a position at the Teachers College at Columbia University. By all accounts, he remains at Teachers College from 1917 until 1939, when he retires at the age of 65. As subsequent other theories emerge, essentialism does begin to take a back seat. However, it does rear its head again in the 1950s. In the United States, there's a poor response to Russia's testing of intercontinental missiles and the Sputnik satellite. This continues throughout the Cold War. In 1983, under the Ronald Reagan administration, A Nation at Risk, the Imperative for Educational Reform, is published by the National Commission on Excellence in Education. It is a scathing review of the educational process and discusses the lack of rigor in the United States American curriculum. The goal then becomes to get back to the basics or the essentials of education. Finally, there are some subsequent incarnations of essentialism that come into play long after A Nation at Risk in 1983. Some of those include America 2000, which is not passed into law, Goals 2000, Educate America, which is passed into law under the Bill Clinton administration, and ESA, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. This portion of the group presentation will focus on essentialism in the U.S. in K-12 education. We will look at two particular tenets of the essentialism philosophy as it relates to current-day K-12 education, and that is essentialism's teaching of traditional morals and values as well as curriculum and instruction. One of the main tenets of the essentialism philosophy is its teaching of traditional morals and values, those back-to-basics core ideas that one identifies with the founding of this nation. Teachers are asked to instill these values in their students as part of the overall education of children. A part of that is teaching children to be respectful and responsible and hardworking citizens who are engaged and informed. This can be reflected or can be seen in our education system today, primarily at the elementary and middle school levels, where children participate in the character education programs. Our character education programs are a reflection of essentialism in that they teach those same back-to-basics traditional morals and values. The 6 pillars of character in the character education program: responsibility, trustworthiness, fairness, caring, citizenship, all of those things are encompassed in essentialism teaching. And this, again, is meant to build those salt of the earth citizens that we identify with at the heart of our country's founding. When we talk about curriculum and instruction, for essentialism, the focus is on the core content areas, what used to be referred to as reading, writing, and arithmetic. We're talking about math, reading, science, and history. These are the focus of curriculum in the essentialism philosophy. And with that, teachers use achievement tests to gauge whether or not students are progressing and developing an understanding of that core content. When we look at this in our current day U.S. classroom, we see it in terms of our standards-based, standards-driven education system. American schools now use benchmarks and standardized tests to determine student achievement in reading and math. Much of what teachers do in the classroom is centered around ensuring that students are developing in terms of literacy and developing in math, because it is those standardized tests that are going to determine student achievement. This has been our group presentation in the area of essentialism and its use in U.S. K-12 education.
And now for our personal statements.
Hi, I'm Jason Aldridge, and this is my personal statement. After doing research on the essentialist theory, it seems essentialism sometimes gets the bad guy reputation. I believe this is highly due to the fact that it is linked to high-stakes testing, and it's not linked to keeping up with the way young people today use their technology. However, I believe essentialist practice can still be effective for teaching some lessons and reaching certain learning goals, but I also have learned from experience in doing that progressive teaching styles are usually more fun for the student, and progressive classrooms just seem to be at a higher level of student engagement. After researching 4 educational theories, progressivism, essentialism, perennialism, and social reconstructivism, I have come to the conclusion that an effective teacher will choose to use a combination of these theories. In my opinion, I must present the curriculum using all methods of educational theory to keep the student fresh, engaged, and excited to learn. If I commit to essentialism only, eventually my teaching will get stale and will lose the student's focus on learning. But I feel this will happen if I choose any other theory by itself as well. My subject curriculum is not the only curriculum that needs to be taught in the classroom. I must find a way to teach my curriculum while at the same time teach life skills such as reading and communication skills, organizational skills, social skills, problem-solving skills, human relationship skills, and the list just goes on.
Oh, like that.
This is my educational philosophy, or why would anyone in the world want to teach? I believe that all children can learn. Still, there's no cookie-cutter method by which we can approach the acquisition of knowledge. I believe that in order for children to develop appropriately, there needs to be an emphasis placed on providing a safe space and a nurturing learning environment that promotes children's knowledge in all developmental areas: physical, social, emotional, and cognitive. As educators at interactions with students need to be responsive to their individual differences in ability, interests, development, and learning style. It doesn't matter what we teach if that content is not real, concrete, and relevant to their everyday lives. Furthermore, metacognition, self-discovery, and positive interactions are among the many reasons that even on my worst days, I know exactly what I teach. I resolve to create a rewarding learning environment for each individual. I will implement stimulating and challenging lessons. Students challenge to work toward achieving higher standards while simultaneously raising the bar. There's nothing better to me than seeing a struggling child grasp a light bulb out of thin air. I'm gonna make you do what I do, babe, Ray Charles said. A quote that I often use with my students is, do what you need to do to get where you want to go. If a student doesn't feel that I'm trustworthy enough to share their life experiences, nothing else that happens in my classroom matters. If I can appeal to the heart of the student and validate their humanity, acknowledge their concerns, and undergird their dreams, then I've got them. But if none of that happens, ain't no way they're going to learn my work. Finally, why in the world would anyone want to teach? Because students, parents, and teachers are all on the same team. We should listen to each other and respect cultural and familiar differences. The ability to impact a child's life is no easy undertaking. As an educator, I have a daily opportunity to introduce astonishment, expand horizons, and to shape intellectual capabilities. So, from a raisin in the sun to Beowulf, from night to we wear the mask, for the thousands of students that love on me and call me Mama D, and for everything that I've learned in between. That is my educational philosophy.
Carolyn's personal philosophy. And this is Carolyn, me. Schools must be a place where teachers, as curriculum experts, are allowed the freedom to provide students with a creative and challenging learning environment. Schools must challenge students and push them beyond their level of comfort where they risk failure to ultimately experience success and become lifelong learners. Schools must be a place of community where parents, administrators, teachers, and students share in the responsibility of developing literate, confident, innovative 21st century learners.
And for our references, turn it down a little bit. We hope that you enjoyed our presentation. Thank you for listening, and you guys have a pleasant week.